This video is brought to you by Soundcore.
The common cold is currently giving me a run for my money, so if I sound like Ray Romano or something worse, you know why. Welcome back, regardless, to another first-person perspective video on this channel, specifically on the iPad Pro. And cutting to the chase here because this is take 27 of this kind of format that we're doing here. It's not easy to shoot. I want to talk about iPad Pro, specifically why the 12.9-inch has been too big and why the 11-inch has been calling my name. Long story short, even though I have been recommending this product for a while simply because you can multitask easier and you have such a big canvas to work with. Even though the size is nice in many cases, it's very, very cumbersome, and it has led me to use it less alongside just environmental reasons, in-class policies that are sort of anti-tech in my case, and also just working on Mac a little more. But I have really been falling back in love with iPad Pro specifically because of this device, and today I want to go over why. And the first reason why is because it's the perfect size. It's not too big, it's not too small. As much as I love the iPad mini, and I will definitely cover it more later on this year and next year, it's definitely a tiny boy, and if you're into that, great. And then of course the iPad Pro 12.9-inch is gigantic, and some people do benefit from it, as we'll see in this video, but not me, not so much, because this thing is just so much more enjoyable to handle and to hold and use. It's big enough to actually comfortably, web surf and do some tasks like annotation and note-taking while not being way too big. It's also very, very faithful to the original iPad here, and also the original iPad Pro 2018 that looked like this. I have mine right here. It's a very nostalgic device for me, so much so I'm not updating it beyond iPadOS 13. And of course here is the original iPad here with iOS 5 actually, but I made it look like the original iPad. Got some apps on here, but as you can see, these are all a similar size here. Bigger than a notebook, but smaller than a piece of paper. And it makes this a very comfortable device to sort of casually use and also professionally use, as in the name here. But it's nice to, for example, take to the couch. So I can take it over here and sit down, and let's actually switch to the ultra wide camera so you can see more of what's going on here. I can, maybe do some web surfing here if my gimbal is gonna let me show you. Let's go to apple.com because it's the first thing that pops up. So I can scroll here. Maybe the 1X will let you see the screen a little better. There we go. And yeah, like this thing is nice enough to hold with one hand. I can scroll with one hand in this case. I mean, I kind of have to because of the way I'm filming this, but it's really, really comfortable. I don't feel like I'm holding a TV, and if I want to use a TV, it's like right here. So like, why would I do that? But in all seriousness though, this is the best, most comfortable size, I think, for most people. And also too, it's big enough to make use of the Apple Pencil. I can open up a Notability here, for example, and do a little bit of annotation for some business law homework that I already did, but I'll pretend like I'm still doing it. This is definitely big enough to do some annotation for reading, for whatever kind of work you're doing here. You don't necessarily need a giant ass screen to do that, although some people do, as I will show. But yeah, I really enjoy the iPad Pro, or the iPad Pro 11-inch specifically, just because it's very easy to whip around, not in a bad way, obviously, but it just doesn't seem like as cumbersome. And as much as I love the big screen on the 12.9-inch, this just kind of has a little bit more of the iPad magic to me. Like I said, it's a lot more faithful to the original iPad size, as Mr. Jobs intended. Another great thing about it is that it takes up less desk space. So let's actually reattach this to the keyboard case here, which I really like, and also turn off the iPad, which is still on over here, damn. Let's bring this over to my desk that I have here in my living room, which I use a lot for schoolwork. And let's just say you have some papers open here, you have a keyboard, you have a trackpad, whatever. Let's just say you want to use your iPad as a bit of a supplemental device. Well, the 11-inch does not take up a lot of space here. The 12.9-inch, even though it's a bit bigger, it definitely just feels a lot more, like I said, cumbersome, a lot more space eating. So the fact that I can have this little iPad here to, reference, to maybe read through a textbook on, I can go to Notability here and reference my law textbook, as you can see here. So I can open this up. If I was doing law homework or, whatever kind of homework, I could have this open here. I could also be working on here because this is a single display. And even though you can do some multitasking, sometimes you just want to have one task open here and one task open here. So the fact that this takes up little space and I can fold it up too and just start maybe writing down stuff with a pen and still have this here without it taking up way too much space, that is definitely nice. It makes your desk feel less claustrophobic, especially in class, I'm not gonna lie, because sometimes you don't wanna pull out your laptop, and sometimes you don't wanna pull out something that is very comparable to a laptop size. The iPad Pro, 12.9-inch definitely is, like I said, or I may have said this in a previous take, honestly, I've done this video like 20 times already, it seems like. Yeah, that's definitely bigger you know, like you feel like you have less space already, even though this is marginally bigger. So yeah, the 11-inch is a lot more refreshing to have on top of your desk, even if it's your only device, you know, even if it's your only device, especially if you are using paper, because I think, you know, most college students and just people in general, whatever kind of work you're doing, paper still exists, other things on your desk still exist, and you don't want your device to take up too much space with all of that in mind.
But before we continue here, I want to briefly mention today's video sponsor, Soundcore, and their Liberty 3 Pro wireless earbuds. I've been using these to listen to some of my jams, and I'm not going to lie, these have really decent sound quality with punchy bass. Soundcore attributes this to their own in-house ACAA 2.0 patented technology that delivers harmonious sound, greater detail, and zero distortion. Not only that, the 3 Pros also have excellent active noise cancellation, which is optimized for your ears in the Soundcore app with their Hear ID feature. And for $160, they give you quite the run for your money considering they're nearly $100 cheaper than AirPods Pro's MSRP. Best of all, they also look pretty slick, offer 6 built-in mics for calls, as well as have 32 hours of playtime. I'll leave a link in the video description if you're interested.
And if you take this out of the case, this is even smaller on your desk, especially if you are, for example, watching a Zoom lecture or a meeting or whatever, and you want to take notes. It's really, really small, and I love the fact that I can just move this around my desk and still have space to spare. And that brings us to our next, I guess, aspect of this tablet here, and that it's very easy to pack in a smaller bag. You don't have to treat it like a laptop, like the 12.9 inches. It's lighter. I think this is like 2.3 pounds. It's lighter than the MacBook Air, even with the Magic Keyboard case, and I find it really, really easy to cram into a backpack. And I am a laptop user, full disclosure. So here we have my backpack here. If you can see it with my MacBook Pro in there, I can shove this in, no problem. It's smaller, it fits perfectly. The 12.9 inch is a little harder to cram in there because it's bigger and heavier. It also is lighter in your pack, so when you are ready to go to school, if you are using an iPad and a laptop, you know, for some synergy, whatever you want to do, yeah, it takes up less space and you don't feel like you're carrying two devices that are kind of redundant, you know what I mean? So like I can have the MacBook Pro be heavy for a reason because it's actually more powerful and I guess more useful to me in some ways, but you know, the iPad Pro sort of fits its size and weight in terms of my, I guess need for it, if you know what I mean, if that makes any sense here. But of course, if you want the bigger iPad, then it's probably worth the extra size and weight. But let's actually try to cram this in here. It takes up more space. It's also a lot more heavy. So that kind of ties back to the portability issue, but of course this is a portability issue. Sounds like I'm on crack. It's probably because the Mucinex is doing things to me, but there you go. Definitely takes up a lot more space. So this is definitely a thing to consider, especially if you have a smaller bag or a business bag that you put your tech into. So I'll put this back over here and we're gonna reference the next point because I'm forgetting what I'm talking about. So we've talked about takes up less desk space, it's more portable. Yes, the keyboard accessories for the 11-inch are not bad. And this is the Magic Keyboard, of course. So it is first party, for better or for worse. And for months and years or whatever at this point, I can't even remember, I thought that this was too small. I thought that the keyboard case on the 12.9 inch was the way to go. And even though this is, even though this is a full-size keyboard, you know, very comparable to a MacBook Pro or a MacBook Air, it's just not worth the size and the weight to me at this point. So I decided to compromise, I know, first world problems, with the 11-inch. And honestly, after a while, though I can't, you know, demonstrate a two-handed kind of thing here, this is fine. I was typing up a paper for school on this, 1,000 words. The trackpad is big enough to do some work, and yeah, like it's not bad at all. I mean, if you have big fingers, then maybe the bigger iPad is worth it, but most people could get accustomed to this. There's so much worse. I've used a smaller iPad even with worse keys in high school, and like this is fine. Like honestly, it's not like the most ideal. I do prefer a bigger keyboard, but for what this is, and because I value its portability, the size of the keyboard accessories are fine. And I was a big, I guess, like, I don't know, snob about that. I was like, oh, I need a bigger keyboard and stuff. But after using this for about a week so far, I have no complaints. I can't, oh, you know what? I'm gonna demonstrate this. I'm going to set my gimbal down and we will switch to the ultra wide camera. And I can do a little bit of typing for you right here. So let's go to Safari. We'll open that up. We'll go to 10 fast fingers. And, yes, let's do a little bit of a demo here. Cookies, allow all cookies, great. Start typing test. Watch me screw up, but I'm still gonna be able to type pretty fast. So yeah, like, I can still type maybe 95% as fast. Yes, it's a little bit cramped and I'm probably shaking the gimbal here, but yeah, I mean, this is more than fine for what I do, you know, for school assignments, for research, for scripting, for Notion, all of that. And finally, let's talk about screen real estate. And if I'm being real, I do not need the 12.9 inch over here. Even though the display is technically better, it's mini LED, it has higher contrast, it gets brighter during HDR content, you know, things or whatever. Even though I'm more concerned about SDR brightness, which is still like 500, 600 nits. You know, for Safari, for note taking, for just iMessage, whatever I do, which is usually a single window, even though I do multitask occasionally if I'm dragging a link into an email or something, I don't need this because I don't use it. I really don't. And again, it's not worth the extra size and weight. However, the 11-inch is more than good enough for this. I can go into Safari, for example, and do a little bit of research here. I was looking up the A6600, for example. I have more than enough space here. Also, too, with the Apple Pencil. Again, if I wanted to send a message to somebody, or I'm not going to open up Gmail or iMessage, but I could, you know, like drag some. Why is that happening? Stop. Demos are so fun because they never work for me. I can drag a link into here just fine. Ba-boom. Was that supposed to work? See? Case in point. All right, take 2 of the link dragging here into notes. There you go, perfect. But again, this, I can read the text over here. I can do a little bit of note taking over here, no problem. And this thing again is so much lighter and more portable and just more, I don't know, like easy to use, enjoyable to use. Like this is so, again, refreshing. I don't feel like I'm holding a whole TV, but some people enjoy that if I can put this back on the case. Some people are size queens, or some people actually need the extra size, and this individual does, and he's been waiting here for me to bother him. So Alex Weber, why don't you tell me why, as you use it, why you prefer the 12.9-inch iPad Pro?
It's just easier to sketch. That's the only reason.
Could you demonstrate?
I could.
Oh my goodness. As you can see, he has this pimped out MacBook Pro setup here. He's actually running a Windows virtual machine. So, you know, when we're an Apple channel, we're gonna pretend like that doesn't happen. Yeah, so here we go.
Yeah, so here I did some color blocking
Oh,
renderings.
hold on, my gimbal is not being nice to me. Okay, continue.
So yeah, like I said, I was doing some color blocking renderings for a school project, and just being able to zoom in and just have this take up the whole screen, have it like a nice piece of paper like I normally work on, just is really nice and it's familiar with me. The refresh rate's really nice as well. Just overall a great experience.
And you had used a smaller iPad before, as I screw up using this gimbal here. Do you enjoy the increased screen size? Does it give you extra utility? Unlike me, I don't actually need it. Have you found that extra screen size up from the regular size iPad actually useful, ultimately?
I had a 7th gen before, and originally I didn't think the screen size would be that great. Like, oh, I can just zoom in even more, but it just makes my workflow a lot simpler and easier to use with the bigger screen.
So it's more like a piece of paper, and that's why you like it.
Right.
Excellent. But, you know, he is a special case here. I mean, I'm more of a special case, but his usage case is a special case. You know what? I'm just gonna...
Bye.
And that concludes this video, guys. Once again, the iPad Pro 11-inch has a special place in my heart. It was the first iPad Pro that I ever used and bought, and I am really enjoying it here. And that's it, guys. Thank you for watching here. This has been fun. Hopefully you enjoyed this format. It's definitely easier for me to shoot sometimes, although it does take a lot of takes. This is like the 20th take of this, so like I wasn't getting very far past the intro, the first couple takes here, but I'm glad we got through this. Again, hopefully you enjoy this format. I definitely am. It's very refreshing to be able to kind of show you how I use my tech in my actual living space here. So leave some feedback about what you think here. Of course, I have more traditional content coming up soon as well. I also want to talk about the iPhone 13 Pro because the camera capabilities on here are just unbelievable. But anyway, check out my link to Soundcore in the video description. Subscribe, like, whatever you want to do. Check out my links to TikTok, Instagram, all of there for other content like this. And as always, you know what? I'm going to open up Photo Booth here so you can see me for a split second. As always, I'm Noah, and I will, oh wait, I got to stay here. And I will catch you all in the next one.